So a couple of weeks ago, I got to do my last session of the year. That session was for some drum playthroughs with Mike Mallion. I'm actually going to talk with you about something that I didn't expect to learn as a result of this session. I went into it thinking I was going to make a very different video. I thought I was going to do a shootout or something. And whilst I was here at Middle Farm, I was chatting with Adam from Hot Pole Studios, who was also there filming for Mike. And actually we got onto the interesting subject of gear bias. Why do we pick the microphones that we pick, even if we've never used them before? And the reason why I asked this is because I got sent one of Lewitt's drum mic box pack things, which has like one of everything in it. It has snare mics, tom mics, kick drum mic, and some small diaphragm condensers for overheads. And the reason why this is interesting is because my bias for what I'm used to would tell me don't touch that. And it's got nothing to do with Lewitt. It's actually I have this bias with any sort of drum recording package that I've seen in the past where it's like it can't be good because it's all in one and it's affordable. So then Adam, I think it was Adam, whilst he was there, because he's also worked with Lewitt in the past, and he said just change out the mics, like take every single mic off the kit that's already there, because Mike had already been there for a few days doing sessions with Pete, who runs and owns Middle Farm. He said just swap out the mics and see what happens. I did that, and I learned something. I didn't change any of the gain on the desk. I tweaked some EQ moves because, you know, some of the microphones were being swapped from condenser to dynamic, like for the toms, but I was stunned. If I'd been given the choice at a studio, I would never have picked those mics, and it's got nothing to do with them being good or bad. It's just gear bias. They sounded great. They did the job really, really well. And actually, I can play you a clip of the mixed drum thing that I did for Mike that's going to go into his playthrough, and it sounds like this. And that's no samples. There's very little processing going on, and I learned something that I didn't expect to learn. I also managed to, I had the opportunity to use that vocal microphone on the overheads, and that was very interesting because being able to load the valve differently changed how the transients responded. But as a thought experiment, just swapping out microphones and just putting them up and then going, done, would never have thought of doing that. I was stunned. Kudos to Lewitt. Here's the disclaimer bit. I did ask for the microphones. They did send them to me. They haven't seen this video. They haven't asked for them back. I don't really know what's happening with the mics, but if I'm keeping them, there is going to be not bias, but I'm going to end up being aligned towards that brand in a positive manner. However, if I finish this video and I get an email going, "Hey George, you done with the mics?" I'll put it in this video, or I'll put it in the description down below, but bear that in mind. So what that means is I haven't been paid for the video, but I have received something, but I don't know if I'm keeping it. So therefore, I took all the microphones off the drum kit. We had AKGs, Neumanns, and just swapped it out like for like, and it was then all Lewitt. They were great, and they're affordable microphones by consideration to the value of some of the microphones that were on the kit before. Like one of the microphones on the drum kit was worth $1,000 on it itself, and I think the drum package on the whole is worth, I'm going to say $1,000. Shall we find out? Lewitt drum mics. Considering that for that package being about $1,000 in UK money, some of the mics that were coming off the kit were worth £500, £800, £900 individually. And I swapped them out like for like, and there was no perceivable negative change, just a perspective shift. Very much like how if you were to change the lens on a camera, and it could be a 35mm, same f-stop, the colors may be represented differently, the contrast may be represented differently, and the sharpness might be different. Those were the differences that I was noticing. It wasn't a lack of information, a lack of resolution. It was just a shift in perspective. And that was it. And for $1,000 as a starting point, really cool. I understand that I am not trying to sell you these mics. I'm just saying from a value point of view, really good. Surprisingly oh, okay. I completely expected to put the microphones up. Sorry, Lewitt. I completely expected to put them up and then be like, because that's my internal bias speaking. And this was where the conversation with Adam was going. It was like, why does this exist? Why do I have a bias or a preference for something, even some microphones that I know have been on records that I like? I may not have even used them before, and I would deviate towards those rather than something else. Where does this start and stop? Lewitt are out there seemingly trying to make products that they believe need to exist, and they can't be the only company out there doing that with microphones. I think the world of clone mics and clone gear is a different subject. But in this way, where people are trying to innovate, it's really interesting that, I mean, I'm even part of naysaying or just being like, nah, just that this exists. And I'm just curious as to why. I'm going to certainly going forward is going to be far less like, nah, about stuff, and just give the things that I come into contact with a good old college try. But it was just a very interesting topic of conversation, and it's something that I've been ruminating on ever since that session. So there's two takeaways. It's really interesting that I thought I was going to make a very different video for you today. Secondly, I came out from that session learning something that I did not expect to learn, and having a better appreciation for the things that I already own, which I thought was cool. It might just be me. But I'm curious, when was the last time you were surprised by something that your internal bias was telling you, it's not going to be good, you're not going to like this, and you're almost like getting yourself ready to say no before using it? When was the last time that happened for you, and what was it? Please write it down below. I am genuinely quite curious, because for me, I'm going to have to start catching myself more often before saying no to things, and start saying yes to more things more often, even if I am skeptical. So I know it's a bit of a shorter video. That's how it works sometimes. I hope you're well. I'll see you in the next one. All right. Cheers. Right.